Welcome to the Donna Seebo Show. Donna is an international mental practitioner, psychic, award-winning author, counselor, speaker, teacher, and radio television talk show personality. She brings to the airwaves talented people from around the world who share their insights and experiences with you, the listening audience. Now, let's join Donna.
Hello, I hope your day is absolutely magnificent. And I think that today's show is a powerhouse of a show. Of course, I do feel that way about my shows anyway. However, so many times we get so overwhelmed that food is used as an emotional substitute. I don't know of many people that I've encountered in my lifetime where the subject of weight has not come up. I was born and raised in Southern California, so the thin look, the lean look was always very important, whatever your size was. It didn't make any difference. It was almost to an extreme positioning. My guest today, Lisa Lynn, has put out a book called The Metabolism Solution. Now, I don't know about you, but with me, that has always been a huge, huge issue. And for some reason, and ladies, I know you can relate to this, as we get older, especially after menopause, we go, what happened to my body? I don't know what went on. Well, Lisa's going to be sharing some very insightful things with us, giving us some down-to-earth, practical information. You may have heard about some of it before, but her perspective and application of this practical information, I think, is really super. Lisa Lynn, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I am absolutely delighted. Lisa, we are bombarded with information about how in the U.S. there's obesity. Let's face it, there's always been obesity in those areas of population where food has been abundant. I don't care what culture you look at. In fact, in many cultures, the fat women are revered. Why? Because that meant you had food to eat. Yep. So this was very important. But here we are in this world today. We realize how important nutrition is. We have evolved very, very wisely in an understanding. We still don't have it all, but we really do understand this. But let's face it, carrying around extra pounds that just seem to stick on us like glue, and we go, I'm not interested in starvation. I am not interested in any kind of extremes. We're bombarded with advertisements. But you look great.
But, you know, I struggle like yourself, and boy, that thing that you just brought up is definitely grounds for another book, and I think it's such a loaded topic of why are we awarding and rewarding anorexic-looking bodies, if I'm to be straight up and honest with you, when it really isn't. They're actually more unhealthy than the overweight, and we're having these extremes, way too skinny, and then there's way too overweight because our society, that's very much how we operate in our world.
And I was talking with a seamstress. We were chatting about fashion, and we have our biases and how discouraging it is for so many of these beautiful young women. I mean, really gorgeous young women that should really appreciate their bodies.
Yep.
And she said, Donna, let me tell you, I'm dealing with all I see are muffin tops. I said, excuse me?
Yep.
She said, I am seeing young women that should not have the muffin tops, and they don't even know where their waist is anymore. And I said, Are you serious? She said, I am totally serious.
She is. And, you know, you brought up another good point. So back in the day, Marilyn Monroe, she was a size 14. Why was she, like, revered? People think that that is sexy, and I agree. It's like what men want to see on a woman's body. But Marilyn Monroe didn't have a muffin top at size 14.
That's
because
right.
we were much more physical, and while we ate, and it actually was healthy, fitter, better for our bodies, we ate a lot different diet. We ate things that came from the earth, lots of lean, clean proteins. We didn't eat too much of them, and then we also ate lots of vegetables and fruits, and nowadays that muffin top is really a consequence of the types of foods that we're eating. One of them, which is really in vogue right now in January, February, is juicing. And this thing that you're talking about of being, too light or too heavy, what does this sprout up? It sprouts up businesses that can sell on your fears, one of them being juicing and all these cleansing and detoxes that are contributing to the problem, not making it get better.
I agree. Now, I'm one of these people. Now, I think juicing is a good thing in many respects.
Yep.
I think there's...
When done right.
When it is done correctly, I think it is fabulous. But what I found, and this is me, I found that when I went through menopause and was going through hormonal treatments, I was ballooning up as if it was, gee whiz, this is the way you're supposed to be. And I'd look at some of these old movies and say, excuse me? I'm not going to look like that when I'm in my 50s. No way. But it's so easy, and the body shifts and changes, and we women especially, due to hormones and all kinds of things, we go through it, and we're living so much longer. We have to remember that our ancestors usually were dead. Women were dead by the time they were 30.
That's right.
And it wasn't that long ago. And men, 46, maybe, if they got lucky. So here we are. We're living into our 80s, our 90s. Our generation today probably is, they take care of themselves, and there's no abnormal event. They're going to live to be well into their, over 100.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to enjoy our lives and have the physical wellness. But when our body chemistry goes wacky, and you find...
And it does.
Oh, does it ever?
I've always had to struggle with my weight since I was little. I don't know if you saw in my book, there's a picture of me at 2 with icing all over my face. I love
Yes.
sugar and I love food. And so from a young age, I always had to fight with the Oreos, had to really be the kind of body that had to move a little more than my skinny friends who did whatever they want. The benefit in that was, because I have a hypothyroid body, and a lot of women think you take the pink pill for the thyroid and you're good to go. Wrong. It's really a matter of really understanding our bodies. What makes your body lose weight might not make your friend next door lose weight. Really coming to grips with being honest with ourselves, knowing what makes our body work and what doesn't. How do you know? Because the ballooning sign of at least slows down. There are things you're not going to be able to control, but I'm a firm believer that if you know the rules of the game, you can win at it.
I
and
agree.
One of them is we got to eat differently when we're in menopause.
Ugh. Anyway, well, the thing is, I'm like you, and many women today, the hypothyroid and the hyperthyroid. Let's define that, because there are so many women that are getting tests done, and they're being told, you've got a thyroid problem, take a pill, just what you've said. And they go, I'm not so sure about that. Let's discuss that for a minute, because with the female, not so much the male, but with the female, this is important.
Oh, yeah, and this is hugely driven by hormones. So what almost every woman listening can know right now is whether you are in menopause, out of menopause, doesn't matter where you are. The day you began to get your period, you started walking into that stage and your body began to change. And each year it's a little older. Well, we move less, we have less muscles, and so we really need to eat less. But the opposite happens. Going with that, our organs start to break down. Things don't work the same. So hypothyroid becomes the perfect storm for weight gain, but you still can lose weight even with a hypothyroid. You just have to understand that while maybe you can't eat what your goal weight is times 10 or times 13, it needs to be times 10. Reduce, find the amount of gas that your car needs to lose weight, and you'll know because the scale will reflect it, or you'll see it. You'll feel it in your clothes. You'll feel better.
Absolutely true. Now, tell us about Dr. Hatfield. You've got a wonderful picture of yourself with this gentleman, Dr. Fred Hatfield. Who was he, and why was he so significant in your life?
I call him my little guardian angel because when I worked with him under his tutelage for multiple years at the World Wrestling Federation, he is quite the global guru. He knew lots of bodybuilding, and I worked with him to help keep the wrestlers bulked up. And what I learned was everything that I knew about weight loss was all wrong, because everything we did to bulk up these wrestlers was exactly what I was doing to try to lose weight.
No,
you know,
wait a minute.
Yeah.
You've got to explain that. What do you mean?
I was young at the time, hypothyroid, really trying so hard to lose weight. I was over-exercising, definitely doing way too much. I became vegan because I just always wanted to be, thin. I always struggled with my weight and didn't see myself for other reasons at that stage. And when I was working with Dr. Hatfield, I just find any reason I possibly could to be underneath his arm learning. And so I ended up working with him to keep the wrestlers bulked up. It was our job to get them as big as we possibly could. And one of the tricks that we did was we fed them, are you holding your breath?
I'm holding.
Lots of avocados.
Oh, yum.
Lots of juicing and juices because it lifts up your insulin levels, and when your insulin levels go up, it makes you hungrier, therefore you eat more, and it helps them gain weight. A lot of nuts and seeds, lots of granola. And so all the things that I was doing, brown rice and beans to lose weight were the things we were doing to keep these guys getting big, and I completely I said, I have to forget everything I've ever learned, and I have to start fresh with a clean slate and just really, you got it. If you want change, you got to do something different, girl, and tried to do things differently. And I've actually been able to improve my condition every year as I get older.
Wow. Now, Joe Weider, who has passed away, I believe, was one of the most knowledgeable men. And I'll never forget, years ago, reading in one of his magazines how, when it came to bodybuilding, there were chemists that would analyze the metabolic activity of the particular bodybuilder's physical system, and they would then give them a dietary program to follow.
That's
now,
right.
what was so amazing is that there was one guy who couldn't build muscle no matter what. He was on carbs. He was just doing all kinds. And bingo, they shifted his food program to high proteins. And he said, well, I understand, according to what I've been reading, blah, blah, blah. They said, no, this is what you need. Another guy that was high protein didn't have stamina. They shifted him to another dietary regimen, and he did fabulously. And I'm going, excuse me, help, is there anybody out there with my metabolism structure?
It's science, and what really motivates me is I fell into all those holes. Paleo, Atkins, I've met them all. I've worked for all of them. And what bothers me, I was one of those overweight people who bought into all those equations. And all I did was end up gaining more weight, more frustrated, and I became really depressed. I mean, I kind of am a depressed person organically. And then when I flipped this switch and learned the bodybuilding lifestyle, if you will, and everything in my book teaches you what you just said, how do you flip the switch on weight loss off and turn it on? Almost always, it's not doing what you are today, it's doing something different.
I really was intrigued with your information. Martha Stewart is a woman that you worked with, and Martha comes from what I would consider a good genetic background, the Norwegian or Scandinavian aspect, and they're a very strong, sturdy, healthy people. And she's on television, and she put on a tremendous amount of weight. And no matter what she did, nothing was happening. And you ended up working with her, and consequently, she has been able to trim down some. I think of Oprah. Here is this, these are beautiful women. They're very public. Oprah is in just such a dilemma because she's battled with this all of her life. And I go, there's so many millions of women that relate to these two, and there's no shortcut. I haven't found a shortcut anyway.
No, there aren't any, and that's the whole thing. There is no secret pill. Even weight loss surgery, I know people who've had it and still didn't work. And not only that, it's not just what you eat, how you eat, when you eat. It's why you eat. And no one really talks about that, where with Martha, I really studied her, followed her. She couldn't keep weight on most of her life. So learning how to moderate and change her eating was the biggest problem because she had really good foods.
Right.
And she's super busy, by the way. And what I actually had to do, and it really taught me a lot of also what I learned, was I couldn't push her harder in the gym because her life was a CrossFit workout, if you will. Mm-hmm. I had to actually reduce her stress and do things a lot differently with her in the gym because she was always stressed. And I think if women only knew, the answer isn't CrossFit, kill yourself. It's really meeting your body where it is. If it's stressed, bring your stress levels down by doing a different kind of workout. If you're not stressed enough, you might have to hype it up, but really meeting your body where it is and being honest about what each one of us needs, and it's not a cookie cutter.
That's for sure. Now, you talk about thermogenic eating, but again, I'd like for you to define the hypothyroid situation and the hyperthyroid situation. Because
and pretty much anybody listening, if you're not there yet in that menopause, oh my gosh, I can't lose weight, everybody has a day, and this happened to Martha, where it comes.
Yep.
One day you go through menopause, and the next day, nothing you ever did works again. Thermogenic eating is really, it's bodybuilders' way of eating. But what makes it super special is you can actually eat a lot of food, really enjoy it, tastes good, but it actually takes more for your body to digest these foods than there are calories in the food. So you actually create a deficit. And it's as simple as swapping out your chicken for fish, for white fish. And what a lot of people don't know is what a powerhouse metabolically fish is, or any seafood, because it's loaded with iodine, so it enhances the thyroid. So if your thyroid is slow, you want to eat the foods that speed it up. Most of us do the opposite and eat foods that slow it down. And so in a nutshell, it's lots of seafood and lots of fresh vegetables. Not so much fruit, believe it or not. And this one was one of the hardest for Martha. We used to get little tips about how there's no sugar in fruit. Well, fruit is comprised of sugar, and what people don't realize is, to our cells, your body doesn't know if that sugar came from candy or from an apple. Mm-hmm. While you get benefits, it really spikes blood sugar all the same. And so thermogenic eating is eating 80% of the time the foods that boost your weight loss.
Well, I'll tell you what. When I started reading your stuff, I said, oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Is this something really I would be willing to do? And I thought, well, if you are wanting to really trim down and you want to educate yourself, and that's something with your book, The Metabolism Solution. And when you're the hypothyroid, you are going to find that carbs, like your breads, rice, pasta, chips.
The ones you're addicted to.
Yeah, I mean, oatmeal, even oatmeal. See, and this is something we've been indoctrinated with so much stuff.
That's it.
That when we see it, I watch some of these commercials on television where a top-notch show person says, I lost 50 pounds and I ate whatever I want. And I looked at everything that was shown. It was ice cream, it was pasta, it was pizza.
Sounds
all
like
of
heaven.
these. Yeah, it sounds wonderful. And I looked at it and I said, that would not work for me.
Nope. See, you're honest with yourself. I fell into the whole of, I became vegetarian because I was addicted. I not only shouldn't have eaten the carbs, but I was addicted to them. I really couldn't put them down. It was like I would finish eating, and all I could think about was when I was going to eat again and what it was going to be. Mm-hmm. And a lot of women don't realize that it's not your fault, and it doesn't mean that you don't have willpower. It's the way you're hardwired. So if you understand, and this is what got me the job with Martha Stewart, is it's simply the wrong gas for your car. And if you can remove your emotions from it, you would be amazed at what happens. All of a sudden, you don't feel like you're in bondage when you're eating clean. You actually feel freedom for the first time in your life because you can control the food. It doesn't control you.
You make a point about fish. You said the lighter and whiter the fish, the better for your metabolism. And it's not just about calories, but there is a chemistry that goes on with the white fish, like cod. Now, I know there's going to be people listening to this saying, wait a minute, Donna, have you heard about the radioactive fish outside of Japan? Yeah. What about this, the mercury? I had my husband tell me one day when I was fixing some tuna fish, he said, you realize that's loaded with mercury, don't you? So you have these, you have all of this stuff that's out here.
Yeah.
And how do you address that with people?
And, it's all valid, by the way. But one of the things is that instantly what I hear in that is fear, fear, worry, worry. And that fear, worry, anxiety is what always thinks the worst, by the way. Fear and anxiety always thinks the worst. And it also doesn't get us where we want to go. Now, the truth is 99.9% of the people who really almost overeat on fish never have mercury poisoning.
Interesting.
And there's more mercury in some of the other foods that we eat. So here's the thing. If you stick to the lighter and the whiter fish, you're eliminating a lot of those problems. It's the fatty fish where mercury is found. And while most people who don't like fish will eat salmon, salmon is a high-fat fish, and it's a lot higher in calories. So I don't know about you, but I like a lot of food. I don't like to see these little tiny portions.
I hate
salmon
those.
should be in tiny portions because of that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that is something I went on strike. I just said, enough is enough. I'm sick and tired of this. This is just absolutely,
Good for you.
Don't want it anymore, and I just can't hack it. And I just get so tired of it. And that's why I enjoyed your book, The Metabolism Solution, because you are looking at the facts of the body chemistry and a little bit of knowledge that I have, and I remember so vividly this chemical analysis done by these chemists for the bodybuilders, and I thought, good Lord, if we knew more about this. I think of how diabetes has gotten to be a major epidemic for Native Americans.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when you look at their genetic history, they eating what typically is promoted to be eaten is just not for them. Their bodies will not work with it genetically. It's just going to store everything.
And, I was a bodybuilder. I was trying to shrink my body, so I did any method of training possible. I actually grew it with bodybuilding. But one thing that is hugely profound that people don't realize is the only way you can build a wall is if you have stones. And the more stones you have, the bigger the wall. Well, you can bodybuild and not grow and bulk your body if your calories are in check. And bodybuilders never have diabetic issues, muffin tops. You never hear gout. None of them ever get sick. Like the buddies I see in the gym at 4:30 in the morning never have any of the issues 60, 70, 80 years old that the rest of America has.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot to be said because not only is it chemistry, it's a lifestyle. They don't take their lifestyle and throw it out the window when they go on vacation. They bring it with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of what I delivered to the, I call it the pretty world, where I never had Martha in the corner doing arm circles. We did really good things that kept her strong, not just physically. There's an internal component that when you can do these harder moves, sometimes you feel like, hey, it transpires into our life about what we can do. It's very empowering.
One point that you bring out is that bodybuilders do not take in dairy.
Yep.
Now, your comment is it's okay for baby cows, but it's not for people. Now, most women, interestingly enough, do not like milk. They won't drink gallons of milk. Guys will.
Yep.
But the gals won't.
But we'll eat the yogurt.
Yes, we will. Yes,
now,
we will.
Now, so do I, by the way. I love dairy. But now I used to eat yogurt as a meal and didn't understand why I couldn't lose weight. I have dairy every single day. Now, that's a good thing, but I view it as a dessert.
Interesting.
And if we view things differently, like nutrition first, that was the other thing leading a bodybuilding lifestyle, changed a lot of my food issues because I would always nourish my body first, and then if I was going to cheat, I cheated. And what I found was I wasn't out of control with the bag of Oreos anymore because I was well-fed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It changed everything for me. And I mean, I always feel like if there was a gift I could give away, this would be it to every person who's out there suffering. And you know this, being psychic, you see them all, and almost all the pain that we're going through, we have more control than we think.
Well, I think also that it's very hard for people to get into their heads, and I've been there, so I feel I can say this with integrity. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to get into their heads that what you are dealing with is your own chemistry.
Yep.
And when you can understand how your chemistry is working, then you've already conquered a great deal. Now, you do have to make up your mind that this is something you're going to work with.
It's all a decision.
Yes, it is a decision. Now, you say if someone can lose an average of 16 pounds in 3 months. Now,
Yep.
this is something all kinds of programs proclaim.
Yeah.
I, like you, have tried all kinds of programs, and they didn't work with me. And I know and understand now why.
Yep.
And it's because of the way my metabolism works.
That's right.
So to be able to lose that much weight, I know older women hearing this may say, oh, my God, I'll look like a flabby flag when I lose that much weight that quickly. But that really is not the case, is it?
No, not at all, especially when you're eating correctly. And I don't advocate high protein diets because those are just as bad as low. I advocate the right amount for your body. And it's amazing even to me, like you saw the picture of the lady on the cover who lost 90 pounds. It is shocking to me when I see her body that she lost 90 pounds and her skin is tight.
Mm-hmm.
Because she ate correctly. And so, especially if you're out of the prepackaged foods and your focus is fish and vegetables or, turkey and vegetables, when you have that right amount of protein, you're going to preserve muscle. And we use muscle just sitting doing this interview. We're using muscles.
Absolutely.
And so it's feed the muscle, starve the fat.
Yes. Now, I want to share something with people because in your book you also have some recipes, and I had to laugh because when I came across your fat blasting Caesar dressing, I went, oh, police. I love Caesar salads. I had a friend that once said, I love to have salad with my dressing.
Me too.
And I remember Robert saying that, and I just laughed. He said, to heck with a salad, I'll just drink the dressing.
I'm the same. Mm-hmm.
And Caesar was one of his favorite, and it was one of my favorites. And the Parmesan cheese and all of this. But by golly, this is something that you put together. It's so easy, and it's wonderful. Now, you say this serves 4 to 6 salads, but it's 1/3 of a cup of grated reduced fat Parmesan cheese, 1/4 of a cup of fresh lemon juice, a small garlic clove, a 1/2 teaspoon of Dijon mustard, 2 anchovy fillets, which you say are absolutely a must, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
A tablespoon of chicken broth, and 5 tablespoons of fat-free, plain Greek yogurt.
Yep. And you can leave that out, by the way. Like, one thing I say to people, I'm so shocked at how many people don't know how to cook. And being Italian, it's just intuitive to me. And what I realized when I lost weight, seriously, this is what I was thinking is, well, that's great. I look good. I surpassed any goal I ever had. Just trying a little experiment. I made a game out of it the last time, and I remember thinking, but I want my food back. Like, I really wanted it back, and so that was when I set out to make over all my favorite recipes, including that Caesar one, and figure out how I could have my cake and eat it too, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And so food doesn't agree with you. Like Martha used to say, how do you know how to make those over? Well, it is an intuitive gift, but that chicken broth is it's a trick. Anytime you remove the oil, you're removing 80 to 90% of the calories in your dressing. But we need something there. So when you replace it with defatted chicken broth, you get all the flavor and that slinky feeling that oil gives us.
Yes, and the truth is, fat adds flavor.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care what anybody says.
Oh, yeah.
You try eating extra lean beef meat in a hamburger, and you have a hamburger that's ground with fat. Let me tell you, the one with the fat's going to be a heck of a lot more tasty.
It's a good point, by the way. And my philosophy, because I know a lot of chefs, anybody can cook with butter and fat. It takes a real art to learn how to cook, and it's where I think most people go wrong. They'll cook, let's say, a lean turkey meatloaf, and the first time, and it's too dry. Well, good chefs practice 5 times, and it takes a bit to really learn how to work these leaner meats. So I'm a big one, rehydrate it, put some water back into it. There's a lot of ways, to tent your food to keep the moisture in, and we really have to be open to learning new things and doing new experiences to get where we want to go.
Absolutely. I was so impressed with your material because I personally could relate to a lot of what you were saying. You also talk about supplements in here and how important they are, but still you need to eat food.
You do. And supplements is really the last step. One of the things that inspired me to write this book was I was on Dr. Oz and introduced him to a lot of the supplements we all know and love today. And what really hurt at a soul level was you would never come to me and have me put supplements in your lap first. We discuss how you eat. We discuss everything we just did. We discuss how you move, what you'll do. And then last, that's when we get into supplements. And why do we need supplements? Sometimes when we're menopausal or after, diet and exercise just aren't enough for a few reasons. Maybe you're anxious and you siphon B vitamins, like water or gas in a car. We need to replace them. And when we replace the nutrients our bodies need, we feel the best, we tend to eat the best. So it's not about, I'm not into pharmaceutical drugs to hype the metabolism. Most people would think that I was. But anytime you take the body out of natural balance, it's never a good thing. It's just about restoring balance.
I agree. And your book, The Metabolism Solution, goes a long, long way. And your photo with Martha, and I just think with the lady that you have here, she looks like she's quite mature in age, she's about 60, 70 years of age, and for her to drop, you said 90 pounds?
Yeah.
Oh, my word.
And has a daughter who's done the same. And, I'm going to go soulful on you, but everything I did there really came from above. About never mind the skinny minis and the bra tops, because I was depressed and I wanted to talk to the people who needed it the most, speak their language. It doesn't look like spa cuisine there, does it?
That's right. Oh, this has been wonderful. Now, people can find out more about your book and your work by going to lynfit.com. That's LYNFIT.com. And I just think that it is just fabulous. And wow, for those of you listening, male or female, you want to do something, she's got some great recipes in here. But I will tell you, this is not just common sense. There is a lot of scientific fact that's behind this. Lisa Lynn, thank you so much for being with me today. This has been a joy.
So much for having me. Have a blessed day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Donna Seebo here. And check out lynfit.com. Believe me, this is a powerful publication.